I'm Ashley Heidemann from JD Advising, and in this video we're going to be talking about professional malpractice cases, and specifically we'll be talking about the role that custom plays in professional malpractice cases. So before we start talking about professional malpractice cases, let's just talk about plain old vanilla negligence cases, because it'll be easier to compare the two once we have something to compare professional malpractice cases with. So, this is a true story. I was driving down the freeway a couple weeks ago, and I was going about 70 miles an hour, which was the speed limit, and there was a utility truck in front of me, and the utility truck had two ladders on the top of his vehicle. And unfortunately, the ladders weren't secure, and they both flew off the top of his vehicle and landed like this in the middle of my lane. Now, in real life, thank goodness, I was able to get around the ladders, okay? But let's just say that instead of being able to get around them, I went right over the ladders, got 4 flat tires, a bunch of property damage, and I sued the driver of the utility vehicle for negligence. And I said, you breached your duty of care. And in particular, let's just say that the piece of evidence I want to offer is that the utility driver did not follow the custom. I want to say, look it, all you did was tie these ladders to your vehicle using these flimsy knots, okay, you used a rope, versus everyone else in your industry will use a metal latch to go over the top of the ladder and keep it secure there even at high speeds. So my argument is, you didn't follow custom, therefore you breached your duty of care. What will a court do? Will a court let me use that argument? And there's a couple approaches a court could take. A court could say, yes, the fact that they didn't follow custom is conclusive proof that they were negligent. All right, so all you have to do is show they didn't follow it, and it's conclusive proof that they breached their duty of care. Or a court could say, it's evidence that they're negligent, but they can also rebut that evidence and show why they weren't negligent. Or a court could say, nope, custom's not allowed into evidence at all. It's too prejudicial or it's not relevant, so we're not allowing it into evidence. What approach will the court take? In this case, a court would actually allow me to use custom, but only as evidence that they're negligent. So it's not conclusive proof. It doesn't mean for sure they breached their duty of care. But I'm allowed to show, look at everybody else uses this metal latch. You didn't use the metal latch. Therefore, that's evidence that you're negligent. And the driver could say, well, I didn't follow custom because I was following a different custom. Or I was actually following a safer custom. Sometimes the metal latches rust, and then a rusty metal latch will fly off, and they might have a reason for not following the custom. So the driver can enter that into evidence, and then the court or the jury will decide whether or not the duty of care was in fact breached. So in a non-professional malpractice case, custom is evidence of negligence. It can be offered into evidence, it's not conclusive proof, it's just merely evidence that the person was negligent. In a professional malpractice case, courts will go a different way. Especially if you are taking the bar exam, keep this in mind, okay, versus if you're taking a law school exam, you might want to know a couple different approaches, which we'll talk about in a minute. But for bar exam purposes, in a professional malpractice case, custom is conclusive proof of negligence. Okay, like if a physician didn't follow custom, it's conclusive proof that they were negligent. Let's say that I go to the dermatologist and I have a mole on me, and the mole is of a certain size and it's changed, shape, and any other dermatologist would biopsy the mole if it was that size and it's changed shape. But my dermatologist didn't, and I have skin cancer or something, and I sue the dermatologist. The only two questions a court will ask is, what is the custom, and did the physician follow it? If I can show custom as it should have been biopsied, the physician didn't follow it. In this case, it is conclusive proof that the physician was negligent. Okay, so courts use, custom is like the absolute standard. It sets the bar. Here is the duty of care. This custom dictates what the duty of care is. So all I have to show is they didn't follow custom. And then I will win my case, okay? Or at least show that they breached their duty of care and potentially win my case just on those grounds. So that's what happens in a professional malpractice case. If you're in law school, note that your professor might talk about how this doctrine is actually starting to erode a little bit. And some states do say, what would a reasonable physician do? And custom isn't conclusive, it's just evidence of negligence. So some states will use kind of the same approach to both professional and non-professional malpractice cases. But most courts will still say that custom sets the standard of care. The important thing is, if your professor talks about both approaches, to mention both on your exam, because they'll be looking for both approaches. If you're taking the bar exam, don't worry about both approaches, just remember that custom sets the standard of care for professional malpractice cases. So I hope that makes sense and clarifies the role that custom plays in regular negligence cases and in professional malpractice cases.